Today I would like to read from Annotations for the History of the Classical Guitar, Volume 2. This is available for $300, shipping included worldwide. Luis Martín Castellano was interviewed in the financial pages of a Buenos Aires newspaper in December of 1934, early 1935. I'm going to read the translation I provided my readers. From the financial pages of a newspaper of December 1934 or early 1935, Luis M. Castellano, who was not a guitarist, details his trip to 6 countries in Europe and the prices of various Antonio de Torres guitars from 10,000 to 125,000 pesetas. The journalist notes at the time that Luis Castellano had been the appraiser of string instruments, both violins and guitars, for 13 years at the Banco Municipal in Buenos Aires. Translation of the article, Los luthiers son las Stradivarius de las guitarras, from the financial pages of a newspaper of December 1934 or early 1935. The luthiers are the Stradivarius of the guitars. Luis M. Castellano is learned, an expert, a selector of guitars. To the service of his specialty and of his passion, he has put his enthusiasm. Without being a player, he dominates the technique of construction, and in his trips to Europe that facilitated in having to do with the specialized masters, he perfected his criteria as selector. Presently, Luis Castellano is the assessor to the public for the Municipal Bank of Loans, Banco Municipal de Prestimos. About string instruments, he has been with the institution for 13 years and, not without a certain professional pride to refer to his functions, he expresses, "I believe that I complete my modest mission with strict honesty and scrupulosity. All the persons who have acquired a guitar through me are satisfied." We asked our interviewee, "How did you perfect your criteria of selector of guitars?" "Before all," he tells us, "I must make an objection to your question. I consider that I haven't perfected it. I have conversed with many persons who could be of utility for their investigations. I have seen almost all of the instruments by famous luthiers and have always tried to observe up to the most minuscule details." He traveled to Europe. Mr. Castellano continues to tell us, "In 1925, I made a trip to Europe. I went to Portugal, France, Belgium, Holland, England, and Spain. In the country of our ancestors, I had the occasion to converse with many authorities of the material. The theories about the construction of the guitars are very interesting and varied. That for enunciating them, I would need more time. One of the most important points of fabrication of whatever string instrument is the selection of the quality and the age of the wood. A constructor told me that sometimes he had to wait entire months to get a good batch of Pino Abeto, spruce or pine." A suggestive anecdote, our interviewee adds, "When I visited Asturias, I was the protagonist of a very suggestive anecdote. It was in a mountainous area. I glimpsed a stone house, very ancient, and I went closer. I perceived the owners of the house, and they had me pass through and had me see how much they had. In front of a cow of the house, after eulogizing the superior grade of his production, they interrogated me. 'In your country there are cows?' 'I believe so,' I responded. 'There are many, and they are milked with an electric apparatus, by machine.' The answer appeared so unbelievable that to ask me, surprised and incredulous, from what country I was, and to respond to them that I had been born in Argentina, they added with complete intention, 'Then you must be a descendant of Andalusians.' I continued visiting the house and arrived at the barn that attracted me to a magnificent beechwood door. Seeing my interest in the door, the gentleman of the house added, "This will probably appear as a lie to you. Once a foreigner came and persisted in trying to buy the barn door. As I had negated, a little while later he appeared with that which you see, and on top of that he gave me 10 pesetas. You see, it appears like an Andalusian tale. The deed is very doubtless like yours, that in your land they milk cows with a machine." What had happened? Very simple. A luthier of guitars had walked by the house of the historian. A price of a Taurus. We interrupted Mr. Castellano. What is in your judgment the best guitar as an element of sonority? Those of the first epoch of Antonio de Torres. That is to say, those constructed in Seville between the years 1850 and 1869. The best value of a Taurus is 10,000 Argentine pesos. That's about, at that time, was $3,000. In Barcelona, a while ago, a Taurus guitar was sold for 27,000 pesetas, and in the exposition of 1930, one figured at 125,000 pesetas. The instrument that sold for 125,000 pesetas was the 1858 Antonio de Torres guitar that won the award in the exposition in Sevilla. It's the ornate guitar that has thousands of pieces. Description of a Taurus. I have had the opportunity, he adds, of studying meticulously the magnificent collection of the family of Mr. Juan Carlos Anito, a relic that belonged to the great Francisco Tárrega that today Maria Luisa Anito plays with her marvelous hands. This has to be of public interest to know the details, therefore I will enumerate. The body is natural beech, that is to say clear wood. The soundboard is Stockholm pine. The two sides of the top are different. The left has its fibers of a close grain. The right is separated more so. The width of the top in the upper bout is 24.5 centimeters, and in the lower bout is 32.5 centimeters. The bridge measures 16.5 centimeters. The sides 9 centimeters in height, and it has a tornabos of bronze. The label says Por Don Antonio de Torres, Sevilla. With Gothic letters flows this inscription: Calle de la Cerrajeria, number 32, 1864. And in 1897, the handwritten letters can be read: Enrique Garcia, Levanto Fondo y Reparo el Interior, in Barcelona in 1897. Enrique Garcia removed the back and repaired the interior in Barcelona in 1897. Such is the Antonio de Torres that belonged to Tárrega, the most famous luthiers. To be referring to the ability of a luthier, he expressed to us, in literature it's defined as to what style is the man. Many others occur with the luthiers. Every one of them has his style, the different manners of neck placement, the fan bracing, the transverse bars, the size and the shape of the head. They identify at once the constructor. What are the most consecrated guitars? They are the following: Antonio de Torres, Mamo Ramirez, Enrique Garcia, Vicente Arias, Santos Hernandez, Francisco Simplicio, Antonio Emilio Pascual, and Domingo Esteso. So ends the interview.